All right. I don't know we had to be recorded for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, you look different than last time I saw you. All right, let's go to work. First order of business is, she's trying to confuse me. Minutes, yeah. No minutes. That's why I'm looking for recommendations on top. Usually the agenda is on top. All right, first order of business is 242-1822, request to continue till January 12th.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. 242-1787, request to continue to 1/12/22.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Next is 242-1831, 104 Milk Street.
Right, so the commission will recall this project involves a large addition that is in the buffer zone and just outside the 50-foot no-build zone. At the last meeting, dewatering was discussed, and the commission asked for a revised plan that showed a dewatering area up behind the house between elevations 102 and 104, with additional erosion controls to surround that area as well. So we have a detail on the plan. It's located on the plan with additional erosion controls. And that was really the only outstanding issue that was discussed that required action by the applicant. And obviously, with the proposed addition just outside the 50, the commission provide cautionary words as to the importance of respecting that line. But other than that, I think you have what you need. I'd recommend closing the hearing and issuing a decision. I have a draft decision ready for you this evening.
Thank you.
Yep.
Joe?
I have no questions.
Jack?
Looks like it complies to me.
It's not my favorite place for dewatering hole. I think I would have put it close to the driveway, but they're fine. Thank you.
No questions, sir.
Tony?
No questions.
Motion?
I move that we close 242-1831 and issue a decision within 21 days. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1832, 37 Scott Circle.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
This notice of intent is for a septic system upgrade. The system has received approval from the Board of Health. There are 3 wetland flag series on the site, A, B, and C. We have reviewed those wetland lines, and we made no changes, and we agree with them. The natural heritage map shows a certified vernal pool located in the middle of the cul-de-sac. So that's inaccurate. So we're thinking that it's either wetland A or wetland B that contains that vernal pool. The proposal has respected the 75-foot no-build zone off of all of the wetlands to make sure, who knows, if maybe it's in C too, I don't know. So, but in any case, the 75-foot is respected, so, let's see. The site is located within natural heritage. There's going to be very minimal tree removal to accommodate the grading up at the corner. We are unfortunately waiting for natural heritage to respond, but I'm confident that that's going to be a no-take. usually septics are exempt from natural heritage if the work is within existing lawn or landscaped areas. And so with this, I mean, with the very minimal tree removal, it's sort of technically not that, right? So it's, unfortunately, we needed to, you know, forward that to the natural heritage, but. So, yeah. So basically, the system is going to be partially located within the existing field. So I think similar to the other project we saw last week is that they'll need to use the existing septic tank as a tight tank to be pumped while the new system is being constructed.
Thank you.
Yep.
Joe?
As much as I'd like to move it forward, it really, natural heritage deserves the opportunity to make that final determination. But really, realistically, they would typically, if it were a take, it required that they work out of season, which is what probably likely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're respecting the setbacks would be something they would also require, so. But how far out are they? Are they running way behind schedule, or we just missed this meeting?
It's a combination. I think they're probably short-staffed, I'm not sure. But Mike O'Neill is the project engineer, if you have questions for him.
Sure. Same question.
Well, this particular site, the Myers have been experiencing a failed septic system since back in March. We have taken 2 months with the Board of Health in order to get an approved plan for them. This system is going to be entirely outside the 100-foot buffer zone. We have somewhat of an agreement with the Board of Health that if we were to get a closing on the public hearing tonight, that they would allow us to put the system in before Christmas. There is a moratorium on that right now, but considering that there might be in the next 2 weeks an envelope of great weather to put it in, that is our understanding with them right now. If that were not to happen, the Myers would be facing looking at a flood of front lawn from now till April, and they would have to continue to pump that system for those months. So that is our hope. As far as national heritage, the entire lot to the left of this is been taken out of that habitat area.
Yeah.
And as all of the homes are on Forest Street too. So the likelihood, this is just a small area that's about 400 square feet. You can envision that as being 20 by 20. You can take a look at this sketch I've done here. So that adjacent lot has been removed from Mesa, and that dark shaded area is just about the approximate habitat area that's been affected by this system. We have no alternative in terms of trying to move the system to minimize that impact. We have proposed a 40 mil polyethylene barrier, which under Title V will allow us to come back 5 feet. Normally that requires 15-foot setback with a 3-to-1 slope down to meet existing grade, and 3-to-1 is the steepest slope they will allow. So we've put the 40 mil in, and that allows us to go 10 feet and then down at 3-to-1. But we have no flexibility in moving the system. Otherwise, we're going to be going outside the 100-foot setback.
So I've heard, thank you for that answer. In knowing the natural heritage in a good period of history is, somewhat slow.
Yeah.
But during the pandemic, they were painfully slow, and I think their recovery is slower than the rest of the nation. And I sympathize with that.
Right.
But the reality is that we have a failed septic system
Yeah.
in the same, so any replacement is got to be an improvement.
Right.
1. 2 is that we're assuming the vernal pools in fact are vernal, and they're maintaining those setbacks.
Yes.
I think, do we know when the filing with natural heritage took place? Are they way overdue? Is it just 30 days? Are we, how far out?
In
is
the
it?
middle somewhere, you know,
Could be tomorrow.
couple weeks.
Yeah, so the window's gonna shut rapidly for the
I
season
know.
to get it done, and then
Right.
literally we go right through
I
the
know.
entire winter season. So
I know.
I'm inclined in this instance to find a way to close this hearing and hold it in abeyance until we get something back from natural heritage.
Right, right,
To at least let them start moving forward,
right,
because we're not gonna have another meeting until after the
Right.
holidays, right?
right, right,
January.
right.
That's my take on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, in a similar vein, you know, the nature of septic replacements, there's some urgency associated with
Yes.
that, and this, sounds like this case is, you know, falls into that category, where most of the disturbance, like, looks like 90% of the disturbance is in current lawn.
It is.
I tend to agree with Joe. I mean, I don't want to go outside our guidelines, but I think if we were to apply some judgment, this might be one case where we would do that. You know, to sort of bypass the natural heritage approval, you know, for the very minimal disturbance of the potential habitat. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
My question is, Amy, are we required to follow the natural heritage thing? Because if we're not, then we can go like this and just do it. Because I'm in favor of the septic system. But, you know, I just don't want to do things that,
Yeah.
just for the state regulations. Can we do it?
Well, I was kind of thinking along the same lines. It might be one of those situations where we could issue an enforcement order, which would save them the 10 days appeal period as well on any order that we issue. Because you're saying that there is untreated effluent coming to the surface, correct?
It is, yeah, the system is totally in failure. It's in the water table. The septic tank is only just about 6 inches below grade, and that's in their front lawn, and that's where it ponds today, you know, and
So-
has been for the past 6
And then it has
months.
potential to get to what's considered a critical area or an outstanding resource water. So I think we'd be within our ability to issue the enforcement order for the work to commence, hold the notice of intent and order of conditions until we get the natural heritage back.
Is it, like, an enforcement order, does it allow for a repair or a replacement?
Well,
It would allow-
either.
Under an enforcement order?
Yeah.
So I think we would then be staying within the regulations because you wouldn't get an order of conditions until after the fact, but you'd be ordered to upgrade the septic system, and that work would then be able to start immediately without the 10-day appeal.
I want your comments, but I just want to hear, what does it say there?
I'm trying to find it.
All right, then, Sean, you have a comment on it?
I think the thought of, you know, bypassing natural heritage concerned me, but the thought of being able to use an enforcement order to avoid that issue, you know, unless she reads something there that says it's a may instead of must concerning national heritage, then I would say I probably wouldn't feel comfortable. And hopefully she finds that and that solves everything, but absent that, I think Tony's thought about, you know, when we have an enforcement order, we don't seek natural heritage's approval to act. Isn't that fair to say?
I would, yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, I agree with both of you, believe me, but I just have an issue with trying to bypass
Yeah.
the state
Yeah.
bylaw.
May or must, right? If it says may, that's one thing. If it says must, then we don't have authority to do it.
You know, like, well, there's nothing on the agenda tonight that we had, it's the same issue. State, that's what it is. They say natural heritage has precedent over us. There really isn't much we can do.
Or that you must await comment.
Right.
Right.
Or
I have a
do
feeling it's
like
must.
Tony says, do an
If there's
enforcement
imminent
order.
danger to the resource area or the
Yeah, because
environment,
it is.
then we can
Use an
usurp
enforcement
that.
order.
Yes.
Because when you use an enforcement order, you're not seeking, there's nothing that says you must
Right.
first consult with natural heritage.
Right. And I would say untreated effluent, in rains
What do
will
you got?
wash into the
Anything?
wetlands.
Yeah. So it does say, Conservation Commission shall not issue an order of conditions regarding any such project for at least 30 days after the filing of notice of intent with the program, before such time period has lapsed, has either determined that the resource areas which would be altered by the project is not in fact a habitat, or it has been determined that there is a no-take.
So 30 days is critical.
Yeah.
We need to know when it was filed. If it was filed 36 days ago,
Right.
they failed to respond.
Do we know when that is? What date?
Well, I
Should be in the
know,
N- should be in the NOI.
I mean, I know I forwarded it by email to Natural Heritage on Monday.
This week?
To ensure that they had it. I got no response, so
Well,
I
who
don't
generally
know.
submits it, the applicant?
Applicant does.
Yeah.
Do you-
That's
When
usually
did
part
you
of the-
submit to National Heritage, sir?
Well, the situation is that it took over 2 months for the Board of Health to give us a final
Just a simple
decision.
question, what's the date that you filed with National Heritage?
Well, it was, we didn't file with them because it was that, onto the situation, they need a minimum of 30 days to respond. And in this situation, that would mean that we would not be able to, if this meeting were continued to the 1st of January, we would still not have a response from them. I mean, what we were looking at is that the entire lot to the left of it has been excluded out of it. It's an area that's 20 by 20, 400 square feet on the edge, and there's absolutely nothing that we could do. This here is...
You should have filed a period.
It doesn't matter.
Those are all excuses, I hate to say it.
Yeah.
Problem is you didn't
We were trying to
file.
help out, but I don't
I
think
mean-
that's helping at all.
So that gives us no leeway for the NOI.
At first.
You see,
So
under
the
under
main
the
thing-
Act,
so the thing is
septic
that-
systems are exempt from,
So long
Right.
as they're in an existing disturbed area.
Right.
That's the caveat.
Now, you know,
They're cutting trees down, they're disturbing.
Oh, no, so-
right.
So this is not exempt
No.
because of that small aspect of it,
Right.
but nonetheless.
But going back to Tony,
You know,
to do an enforcement order, I think we could skirt it.
Well,
I mean, I
we're
think.
not looking to skirt it, we're looking to protect the environment.
Right.
Right.
Because we have an emergency
Right,
situation.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
And
We're-
honest,
We're skirting this application.
We're just tabling the application until Natural Heritage gets back to us. We'd still look to approve and issue an order of conditions, but the work would proceed under an enforcement order that we would issue and say that, you
Right.
know, you're ordered to conduct the work per this plan and obtain a valid order of conditions and certificate of compliance by
No,
Date
that's
certain.
not available
Right.
for public entities.
so when Taylor and I were out there, so this picture shows sort of the area where the erosion control would go into. Let me just,
Where all those dead trees
so,
are.
yeah, I mean, erosion control would come off the house and go along just inside here, just inside.
I had a stroke.
And honestly, I think it
We
would
got a bad
probably
dinner.
be outside this.
Jamie, did we pay the electric bill?
Does this turn into a nightclub at like 7:20?
Last call, we're out of here.
If I start hearing bells, Jane, I'm gonna worry.
Or we can just turn them off. I think the erosion control could be moved to avoid any kind of impact, because honestly, the grading doesn't come here. I think it's movement of equipment that the erosion control is
Well,
placed where it is.
But we're back to the same thing.
Threshold issue, is it
We-
erosion control?
Jamie, we have a application
Yeah,
that requires natural heritage. They haven't even filed for it,
right,
so we can't approve this plan the way
right.
it's presented
Under the order.
under the order.
Okay,
Tony's suggestion is perfect,
okay.
as far as, well, not as perfect.
It
but
works.
It works,
That's what this commission wants to accomplish.
right.
That's the way to do it.
Because septic systems, myself, I'm all for, I don't care, people need septic systems.
Yeah.
So, you know, I normally, if this was a normal presentation without natural heritage, we would be having this conversation. So, I think we should do an enforcement run
I agree.
and go from there. Would you be comfortable with that?
Yes.
That means you would need to file for the NOI in January, what is it, January 12th?
We're just gonna hold this in,
In the bank,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll have a
let's
continuance on
keep
the,
continuing this.
Yeah.
Well-
continue this and issue an enforcement order for that.
Well, the enforcement order would allow them to go forward with
Correct.
constructing the system
Right.
Yes.
immediately.
You would
Okay.
not have to wait the 10 days either
Right,
for the
yes.
appeal period.
Yeah,
to
that's
clear.
fine.
Yeah, so
That's
that-
fine.
But in the meantime,
That's like a lot of okay. Yeah, it's perfect.
but in the meantime, you will have to file the notice of intent with Natural Heritage,
Yeah, sure.
get their determination, and then we'll circle back with the order, and that will require a final as-built plan to close it out. So you'd still have to record the order and all that, but
So what will happen, so what we're saying is, we'd issue an enforcement order, but you have to file with Natural Heritage. You have to continue this meeting till the next meeting.
Yep.
And you can operate on the enforcement order, but you won't get the enforcement order until you have all this stuff at least filed. You can't file with Natural Heritage
Mhm.
and file for your NOI.
So if I understand
Continue.
it clearly then, they can, say Monday morning, start to work on the installation of the system. In the meantime, we'll have filed with the Heritage to get whatever, to have this area removed from it, and then come back to you in January.
Yeah, and the enforcement order
With
would,
the exception of the starting on Monday, which is optimistic, but I understand the intent here. What I see happening is an enforcement order saying that the plan's gonna be, the project's gonna be undertaken in accordance with the plan.
yes,
And that within 24 hours, you're
Yeah.
going to file with Natural Heritage.
yes.
And within one meeting after Natural Heritage correspondence back to us, you will appear, this will be continued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you will appear back before the commission
Right.
to memorialize Natural Heritage's findings.
Yes, plus we want,
But that, all being said, is we would typically want to have a pre-construction inspection,
Oh,
erosion. So,
absolutely.
Monday may not be the case.
I was just gonna say that, we're gonna treat this like you're getting your NOI tonight, based on the enforcement order, so we get our pre-construction and erosion controls, just as if you got this approved.
Yeah, we have some preliminary work to do in staking out the lot line
Yeah, you
and
could
staking
trees the
out the
cut.
envelope of the system, which we'll do in the meantime.
Okay. But like I said, I put on the enforcement order that there will be a pre-construction meeting,
Absolutely.
and erosion controls will be in place.
And file with National Heritage before any work commences.
Yeah.
I was just gonna go there. Yeah, I'd say by Friday. Do it by Friday, because it was a big miss not to file with them.
Yeah.
Understand that.
Oh, we understand it, it was just that,
And you
you
do
know,
not
we
want
couldn't
this-
file with them until we got an approved plan with the Board of Health, you know.
it's
and
kind of similar to us.
We tried to get in here in the last Conservation Commission meeting, but there wasn't enough time to do it, to prepare
Well,
everything.
it's
so.
a good thing it's Christmas time.
Right.
So, to make this all
You-
official,
you
the
don't want-
enforcement order, we're gonna vote we'll discuss at the end of the meeting?
Yeah,
Because
we can do the
We need
conditions.
to issue that, because we're not gonna meet again in
No,
order to allow you to do it.
no, I need to
Let's do it now.
Let's do it
Let's
now.
do it now. The applicant's here.
Absolutely.
Let's get it done.
Just one point, you don't want to come back here on the 12th and not have 30 days, not
Right.
have, you have more than 30 days review by Natural Heritage. You have to have that.
Well, the enforcement order.
You're not out of the woods, okay?
Yeah, the
Right,
enforcement
yes.
order is not gonna be in effect until she gets everything we were asking. And one of them is that they did file.
Right. And then,
Right, but if they file on the 13th
Right,
or
even if-
or 15th,
Yep.
it's not going to work for next,
right.
No, they're gonna file tomorrow,
they better file
at the end of the
tomorrow.
week.
It's a
Yeah.
good distinction, Jack, because what I had said in my way of crafting it was that the very next meeting after they receive comments from Natural Heritage, but if they don't get them within 30 days, they're still in compliance because Natural Heritage didn't live up to the
Right.
30 days.
Right.
That's
So
right.
And
they-
we're not
That's-
subject to the time to act under the order because they're going to be on pause because of the enforcement.
Exactly.
So I think everything works out in accordance with the regulations if we do it.
Yeah, we'll not do any grading within that area.
That would be a good thing. The
You got
most-
that,
That would be
Amy,
more
that all written
after.
down?
most important thing is to talk to her. She knows what we talked about, right, Amy?
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to her. We'll issue the enforcement order, but what you have to follow, you'll get from her. And put it in writing, Amy, so we
Yep.
have a paper trail.
Yeah.
I,
and one last time for all those people watching at home, it's only because of the urgency of the failed septic system with, replacing the system that's failed in close proximity to the vernal pool is even more important, in my opinion, than it is whatever take may be associated with not doing it.
I agree.
It's only for that reason.
I think
No-
the
no
commission
precedent.
agrees.
Effluent is coming to the surface, which makes it
Yeah.
a
Same word.
safety and human health issue.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion?
What's the enforcement order gonna say? Because
Well, move to
So-
continue the NOI
Okay.
to the next meeting.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
So the first part of the enforcement order needs to say that the work will be carried out in accordance with the plan submitted.
Yeah.
2 is that within 24 hours, so let's give them a deadline, no later than noontime Friday of this week,
Yeah.
that a filing will be made with Natural Heritage.
no work will commence until we have a pre-construction inspection by conservation staff.
Well, they can install the erosion control, that's usually a precursor for the pre-con, correct?
Right.
Yeah, erosion controls can be
Yeah,
installed.
so,
Yeah.
I think the erosion controls according to this plan, I would think.
right, and then pre-con.
Yep.
Right, Amy?
Yeah.
What else?
And then they appear,
Did you,
they appear, well, we're already saying appear the 12th regardless, because that'll give them the 30 days, right?
right,
Yeah, if it gets filed by the.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd rather phrase it that way,
Yeah.
instead of giving them a date to do it, just tell them that, that it's up to, if they want to get it done and Natural Heritage hasn't come back with comments, they got to do it 30 days. I guess leave it however you want, but it's,
If we give them a deadline to file by Friday, which is reasonable,
yeah,
that means that the next meeting, those 30 days will
Yep,
have
yep,
lapsed.
no.
right.
I think we have to give them a date, because if we don't, and they file with Natural Heritage too late,
then they're done.
That's why-
Seriously, why do we need to make them file something when they don't get to do what they want to do unless they file it?
but they're already doing it under the enforcement order. That's, they're getting what they want. That's,
Well,
Well,
that's
and they
what
can't start until they do these
All
things.
these
You're
pre-construction
you're very reputable, so I'm not worried about it. But just a bone of contention, play nice, do what you're supposed to do, because if you don't,
we'll issue
all
enforcement.
bets are out.
It will shut you
Because this
down.
commission
Just shut
can
you
get
down.
very nasty.
But it's they just
So-
say it looks bad.
But so you know what you have to do. What you don't know, talk to Amy. Right? So you know where we're going, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to do the enforcement order, Joe?
I move the adopt the enforcement order as crafted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
You got it,
Thank you.
Amy?
Have a nice Christmas, because you just got a nice present.
This is as good as an order of conditions, so they don't. I've had my own experience with the office.
Yeah.
Was that a Skippy?
It's got to.
We got continuances.
So that's my agenda.
Your agenda?
Thank you.
It's right here, right?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was recommendation. Okay, next one is 242-1832 Scott Circle.
Nope,
No, we just did
We
that.
just did that one, I'm sorry.
Amendment.
Amendment 242-1692 1210 Osgood Street, request to continue to 1/12/22.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Next one is Glenny Woods, request to continue to 1/12/22.
So moved.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
Sure.
So what is that connecting to anything? I went there the other day and it just seemed like it backed up against some houses and I thought it was gonna connect a trail pattern to some other trails.
It will, it's a skinny little connection between the two properties, and
Yeah.
it's over the intermittent stream.
Yeah,
You have houses on your right, but you're gonna go a little parallel with them and then shoot up into
shoot up to the road.
woods.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Natural heritage
And
tag
that's,
on that one too?
and that's a natural heritage too,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I thought.
Do you have a motion?
So,
Uh,
we continued
Wait a second.
Glenny, no, we didn't continue Glenny Wood.
We didn't do
All right.
Glenny Woods
I
yet.
interrupted it. Sorry.
Okay.
Can't take them anywhere.
I move to continue to 1/12/22.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Next one is, you don't have to go, we'll continue.
Yeah, I know. but I need
268
to
Worley
recuse.
Tavern Lane, request to continue to 1/22.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
No, it's not, one abstention.
One abstention. Yeah.
One
One
recusal,
abstention.
One recusal.
Nan Radford, 242-1824, request to continue to 1/26.
So moved.
Second.
126.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Okay, that makes sense. Next one's the COC for 242-700 partial for 284 Hillside Road.
So this order was issued in '94, and it governed a subdivision that included Hillside, Peterson, and Buckland roads. The order lists Lot 9, which is 284 Hillside. But on the approved plan and on GIS now, that house, that lot was never in the buffer zone. So it's in transaction right now, so they want to clean up the title and release it from the order, so they're asking for a partial. So I recommend issuing a partial.
Joe?
Yeah, that was the very first 40B in town,
Oh, really?
and we lumped everything together because we really didn't know what 40B was gonna do to the town. So that's how it happened.
Okay. I got you, okay.
Nothing else.
Jack?
Yeah, it sounds like it's administrative to me, so
It is.
I'm in favor
It
of
is,
this.
yep.
Sean?
No questions.
No questions.
Motion.
Move that we issue the partial certificate of compliance for 284 Hillside Road, 242-700.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one's the small projects.
Yeah.
Project number 289, 240 Marble Ridge Road.
All righty. This project involves in-kind replacement of deteriorating front walkway and steps. The portion of the walkway is a 100-foot buffer zone, and the front steps are just outside. The total square footage of the walkway and steps are 265 square feet. And the closest point to the BVW is 68 feet, and it's separated by driveway and a landscaped area. So all work according to the contractor will be by hand. Materials will be taken off-site daily, and we'll have erosion controls on the wetland side of the driveway. So they're coming in under a category L. And I believe the commission can find this to qualify as an L and approve it as a small project.
Thank you. Joe?
No questions.
Jack?
I have no questions on this either.
Sean?
68.
Walkways don't have its own, doesn't have its own
I
category?
couldn't see it.
That's what I was reading. I thought for
couldn't
sure
find-
we
it's
did.
patios.
It is.
We have-
E.
Unpaved pedestrian walkways for
It-
private use or public access,
But it's paved.
Unpaved,
for
well,
private use or for public.
Yeah, it's a brick pavement, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we got,
we should probably clarify that.
poor L gets beaten up all the time. So it's an E.
You think it's an E?
They're putting brick back down, right?
Yeah, it's pavers.
It's not an E, it's an L.
Yeah.
It's not an E,
I
it's an
mean,
L?
not
it's paved.
asphalt, it's not gonna be asphalt, but
But still
it's a
pavement.
hard, yeah,
Yeah, hardscape is still pavement, unless it's porous.
yeah.
It's an L.
Maybe we can change after the patios and walkways, less than
Yep.
Okay.
Right, so I'm happy to move it as an L. I'm sorry, Tony.
3. I know,
Yeah,
no
I
issues.
didn't think it was- So I move it as an L, and with any, what conditions do you
Yeah,
suggest?
pre-construction to inspect erosion controls, materials removed daily from the site, and a post-construction to verify compliance and approve removal of erosion controls.
Those
Boy,
very well
I
stated
second that
conditions.
elaborate motion.
Absolutely.
I know.
A beautiful motion.
You
I
could have
just-
said it better, Sean.
I just have a quick
That's for
question.
sure.
That's fine, I'm all for that, what you make a motion for. It says unpaved pedestrian walkways.
Right, I do think, again, it's been a while since we created that, but I do think we include pavers, that we would have considered pavers to be unpaved.
As an E.
Is it less than 4
It's
feet?
an E, yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, we should clarify, we don't need to put a subcommittee together to fix pave to something else, so we
No,
can
but
do that, set that up at the next meeting or something,
Yeah,
right?
because I think unpaved covers it all. It's not hot top, it's porous pavers.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a motion.
And a second.
Motion for an
All
L.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That debate was internal, doesn't affect your project.
No, really.
You said you're
Just don't go
worried.
putting asphalt down.
It's just, I like to ask
You
questions.
okay with that too?
I guess you
Yeah.
would, now that we.
The only way I learn is if I
As
ask questions.
proposed.
Approval permit, and I'll set up a pre-construction with your contractor to. Yeah. Just to install erosion controls. Okay. Yeah. Okay, great, all right, thanks for
Good,
coming.
Thank you. All right, next one is number 290, 43 Wintergreen.
All righty. Let me just get some pictures. All right, so this project involves replacement of an existing sunroom located on an existing concrete foundation within an existing patio that has a retaining wall. It's 97 feet from the BBW and riverfront to Fishbrook. So the proposed work involves replacement of the existing windows, skylights, roof, wood framing, and installation of a new sill plate, all by hand, and no ground disturbance is proposed. So this is coming under a category L, and I recommend approving it as that, and 3 conditions: pre-construction meeting, we really don't need any erosion controls. Dumpster for material disposal will be placed in the paved driveway, and then a post-construction inspection to verify compliance.
All right, Joe,
Nothing right now. Come back, please.
Jack,
Yeah, it seems like there's no soil disturbance on this. It's 97 feet from the wetland line. Everything is building up on existing substrate, foundation, I should say, and it's all framing, it looks like to me. We should probably condition removal, what I'm thinking is, the demolition of this old one is probably gonna be the biggest source of risk to us, or to the wetland, although it's minimal, but maybe a condition relating to that. But anyway, it looks like it's an unusual project, but one that is approvable by the small project subdivision, or sub-bylaw. That's all.
thank you. I gotta say, it's the first time I've seen an engineered plan for a small project.
Yeah, I guess there was just some,
Yeah, like I said,
Structural stuff.
because I'm not familiar with the lot, I know there's wetlands out there. But,
Yeah.
so I would say it wouldn't be a bad idea. You're gonna do pre-construction anyways.
yeah.
So, I have no
Yeah.
issues.
I'm not here to challenge this.
So,
Yeah, don't think
We don't
this,
require it.
the size of this project is far beyond what I think the small project checklist or application was meant to do.
Not for us.
This is reconstruction of an existing dwelling. And there's nothing that we, back when we had the subcommittee, we did not put this together with that in mind. So I do not think this is an L. I think this is way beyond the small project list. It's reconstruction of an existing dwelling. And I will be voting against it.
Tony?
It's an RDA.
It's a sunroom. Sunroom. Well, let me show you.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions, just to,
It's, just so I have the picture, it's the sunroom that's being,
yeah,
that's all.
I don't know that they meet the threshold of alter under the Wetlands Protection Act. Because there'd be no real earth disturbance. So I don't see an issue under the small project, but I wasn't here when it was
Right.
determined,
It was a long
so
time
I
ago.
think you have a lot more knowledge of it, so.
Amy, how many square feet is it?
Do you know the square footage of the sunroom?
Approximately 23 by 7.
23 by 17?
No,
No.
7.
7? Oh,
Seven.
sorry.
23 by 7?
So that'd be 161?
So that's under 300 square feet.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay, I was just, because I would have been in agreement with Sean if it was bigger than 300
Yeah.
square feet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of look at it as a shed or other outbuilding. Either way,
Yeah.
I certainly don't mind being in the minority.
You're kidding.
No. Won't be the first time.
All right, any more discussion? I see Joe's still looking.
Yeah, if you just come back to me, thank you. This is going over taking on the existing structure, except for the foundation, and building this
Right.
over that
That
foundation structure.
same, yep,
So the footprint is the same,
yep,
and we just calculated that square footage to be less than the threshold.
yep.
Okay. And Sean, what was your issue? The detailed plan is just more elaborate than we'd expect for a smaller project?
No, the small project bylaw that we put together really was focused on,
Replacing a deck and failure.
well, replacing a deck and failure, absolutely. Sheds, walkways, et cetera, but, it never really got into, replacing enclosed parts of dwellings. And in all the years that we've had this in place, I don't recall ever a project for an enclosed dwelling coming in front of us. So that's, again, my perspective on it.
So it doesn't fit A through K at all.
Right.
And I would agree with you, Sean, it's not an L. And because it's not what this permit was
Well,
prepared for.
with all due respect, what is the risk to the wetland? I mean, if you guys, I mean,
It's not that it's not permissible, it's just that when we put this in place for a $25, there was a lot of history about why this got put in place at the time.
I mean,
There was a lot of back and forth on fees and all this other stuff, and we tried to put together something for a certain genre of project that would be exempt from those fees. And when people start doing renovations to their home, I just, personally, as somebody that was on it, just we didn't see that as part of what the purpose was. But that's, things evolve, right? I mean, that's why I said maybe we should table this and look at it again and revamp it every 10 to 15 or 20 years, right?
How
Be in the
many,
form, not this application.
Well,
how many conditions do you think would be required at this project? 3?
yeah, the most.
Pre and
I mean,
post
we don't even need erosion
And
control.
you don't need erosion control. So, I mean, it doesn't even have 3, it's a tough one. But I mean,
So we got a great set of architectural drawings here, but what I don't have is a site plan other than the aerial photograph.
but you
From-
don't need one on a small project.
I know, but what I'm trying to get at is,
Well, here,
what is the resource
I've got-
area, where is it relative to the work, and what is it, is it all right to the back?
It's on our packet. It's in there.
Oh, come on.
Is it just in the narrative? Where is it? I'm not seeing that.
The picture.
I'm looking at the photograph, but I'm not really seeing
Well, I
any.
got it up on the,
Is
I got it up on the screen.
that what the 97 is?
Yes. So it's fringe BBW to Fish Brook, and the closest it comes is 97 feet. I mean, the patio itself is closer, that's not being touched.
I mean, it's even closer than that deck or whatever that is next to it. Whatever. Even if we want to approve it by a small project, you said it doesn't meet any of the criteria.
No, I was just giving you my perspective on that it's not a similar.
Well, Joe just said it doesn't go to A through K and it doesn't apply to
It's not that
L.
it's not approvable, it's not approvable under a small project, but it's a candidate for an RDA, is what you're saying, right?
Well, I don't think
Well,
it's subject to I don't think it's subject to the Wetland Protection Act itself. It's only subject to our bylaw. Because activities subject to regulation under MGL 130-140. Any activity proposed or undertaken within any area specified, which include buffer zones, which will remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area is subject to. And then the definition of alter is specific to groundwater, earth disturbance.
Land disturbance.
So where they're not disturbing any land, I would say they're probably not subject to the Wetlands Protection Act and only under our bylaw.
Fair enough.
So they wouldn't really be filing a request for determination either. It would only be a local filing under our bylaw. It would be our own filing.
Small project.
So I
It
think,
doesn't apply to anything on a small project.
Well, subcategory L says other similar projects of minimal impact.
Right.
Okay.
You can't get more minimal than
That-
this. Sorry,
that's kinda what I
my
was-
opinion.
No, it's kind of what I was hanging my hat on was minimal impact.
Okay.
Because
L is expanding.
L is L. We got, like I say, we got a lot of L's these days.
Now, at some point, like you said, we should readdress the criteria for this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need a motion.
I think there's no precedent of it, Sean, but, I don't know, by the verbiage, it looks like it might fit.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's why L was
Yeah.
there, right? Because we needed something that made sense to everybody, but just didn't fit squarely within the other pegs.
Yeah.
And also, when we did this, we didn't have a history of having it around for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years to see how it was working. You know? So-
Exactly.
It's amazing, we're up to 290.
I know.
And you guys did such a good job.
At 300, let's
Almost
go
all
back
of them
and
were
look at it.
easy,
Right.
you know, easy to figure out where they went.
All right, so we need a motion.
Move that we, oh, Sean, I'll do
No,
it.
you want
No, because he told me to vote no.
Sean's not gonna move it.
move that we deny.
I move that we,
Small project.
I move that we consider the small project submittal for 43 Wintergreen Drive as a subcategory L, and that we approve that small project with conditions.
Actually, Jack, can you just move it first and then do the, usually we can do it all at once, but since I'm going to oppose it.
Okay.
Just do it-
Okay, just
move that,
consider subcategory L.
Oh, okay.
Now we can go.
For a second? Joe, second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
How many opposed? Two?
Go to-
Passes.
Yeah.
As
Oh,
a-
good. Phew.
So now what's the second thing now?
Now he does the conditions. Now it's been approved with the following conditions, right?
Okay,
could we
it's approved with the pre and post,
Could
right?
we do a
What
findings
what
of
else do
fact
we need?
and see how we're doing precedent somewhat?
No.
And
I-
just-
I-
I
think
think
everybody's
a
gonna be
majority
feeling
is
this
saying
way.
that it's not
No,
present.
I don't think so.
No, I'm just worried
I
about
would think a
covering
good,
ourselves for.
I would think a good condition would be inspection after demolition of the existing structure.
Okay.
I think that would be a good one for this project.
So that means
Okay.
Taylor has to look there 3 times.
No debris be stored within 50 feet of the wetland, and that it be removed from the buffer zone daily.
I'd
Mm-hmm.
say 100 feet.
100 feet?
Yeah, because
And
the
remove-
Yeah, you can,
remove
they
nails.
can.
There's
They're
gonna be
gonna
a
be
driveway
well out of
versus-
100 feet.
Yep. So move that we approve with that condition and post-inspection?
Mm-hmm, yep,
And
Okay.
conditions. All those,
And
Favor?
no soil disturbance?
you have a second?
yeah.
Sorry?
And no soil disturbance.
No soil
no soil
disturbance,
disturbance.
yes,
There's
yes,
no-
yes.
There's no risk of that.
And we don't have a second.
No second.
All right, all
Second
those-
by Tony.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. Okay. So you
You're
good?
all set. So we'll have to do a pre-construction, and then there'll be other conditions, but we'll need to visit again when demo's completed before you start framing, okay? And then we'll have to visit again when you're done. Okay? All right, thanks.
And by then you'll be on a first name basis with us. All right. Enforcement order violation, 242-1692, requested continue till January 12th.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Next one is 40 Flagship Drive. Project that went
Okay,
forward.
so, Bill Linsky couldn't be here this evening. He was with a COVID positive person, so he's in quarantine. I talked to Maureen Harold this morning. She's working on the notice of intent. She was waiting for survey. I'm gonna meet her out there on Monday to go over the restoration of the wetland. She wants to make sure that if there's any glaring things that she missed or things that I'd want to add so that it's more complete and comprehensive for you guys. And she promised that it will be my Christmas present. The notice of intent will be my Christmas present before Christmas. So,
Not that that's an ethics violation.
it's
Figuratively
a joke.
speaking.
Oh, that's such a
Figuratively
joke.
speaking.
I mean, it's like, that's what I need for Christmas is notices
Exactly.
of intent, right? Because I love them.
That's what you wanted for Christmas.
That's right. So basically, right now, the site is pretty stable. They've got wrap up the entire driveway, almost all of the top. They've pumped out the top, the settling basin area, and they're grading and getting that filled with crushed stone, and they want to wrap it as well. So the tanks are still full. They're flocking. They have their the filters on site. They're the correct size. You know, and that's kind of where it's at. They're gonna, pump the fracks once they
Looks like 4
get
feet.
going on the filters. So
Makes everything impervious.
It's just a lot.
I've been here for 16 years or 17 years. I've never seen a project that we've been so flexible for. And nothing's happening. This has been going on for like 3 months, maybe longer,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
right?
This summer.
And it was a tremendous violation,
Yep.
okay? And they give us song and dances, they don't show up, and we still give them forgiveness. We have staff going out there 2, 3, 4 times a week. And I brought up the last meeting, Joe, about we have a thing in our files that if they come out more than twice, it's $100 every time they go out. And the staff is going out there daily. If it's not Taylor, and it's not Amy, and this has been on our agenda forever, and we've been very, very flexible, I think.
I agree.
And something's got to give. I mean, at least Maureen should have been here tonight. The applicant couldn't be here for whatever, COVID. I mean, where's the environmentalists? The engineer, they should be here. Say, hey, we're doing an NOI, and we're doing this, and we're doing that. And this guy,
Everything they've been doing through this whole stabilization process, and they haven't even done any remediation, just stabilization really, is all just BMP sort of things. Well, none of us have reviewed stormwater. None of us seen anything. I mean, all of these things, the use of wrap, how many square feet and cubic yards, and what's now looking like impervious because they used wrap instead of gravel. The detention pond, was there any in the analysis, do they account for any infiltration? Well, if you're putting wrap in the bottom of it, you're getting no infiltration. We know none of that.
Right.
He's just doing these things. And we have no knowledge whether they're going to be surviving the final NOI process.
Right.
That's kind of, it's more than frustrating.
Well, the upper portion of the site will have no stormwater,
So
there's no basin up there.
So that's only,
Proposed. That's,
siltation control, just to
exactly.
let it settle out?
Yes,
They'd have to do something, because it's a wet pond down below, so you'd
Right.
get no infiltration there. They have to do something for
Gotta do something.
the roof
The
or
building-
to
there's gonna be a
meet
building,
standard
they
3.
gotta have roof drains and stormwater management up there.
Haven't seen anything.
We haven't seen it, this
We
is
haven't
what,
seen
I
anything
don't, you know,
But I
it's
mean,
like
in
they're
terms
doing
of
stuff
open
before they
basin,
Yeah.
file the
that's not
NOI.
proposed.
Yeah.
Which they didn't require. They created that because, I hate to throw planning at it, but they just go ahead. And these guys ran roughshod, and then we became involved because that graded the wetland down our street. So, but I don't wanna give them any more forgiveness anymore. There's gotta be some type of thing to make these guys start moving,
It's,
Oh.
you know? Because nothing's happening.
what's the filing deadline for the next meeting?
the 30th.
30th?
What is it?
We-
The 28th,
28th,
sorry,
so
the 28th.
if we don't have a notice of intent filed by the 28th, all work must cease and fines start to accrue at whatever
Is it stabilized to the point that if we issue the cease and desist on that day, we're not in any peril going through winter?
I don't think so.
You don't think it's stabilized? Do you think?
Oh,
there's
no, I
risk?
don't think we're in peril.
In peril, okay, thank you.
That's what
I didn't ask the question right. So yeah, I'm leaning towards you. Enough is enough. Get this thing moving. Yeah, he said lots of excuses why he couldn't get wetlands flagged, or why he couldn't get surveys done, or why he couldn't get designs done.
Right.
Months and months and months and months and months.
I mean, he orders filters for the dewatering. And, they came back the wrong ones, sent them back. Now he says, we can't get the right ones. I know why he can't get the right ones, but I can't say it on TV. But enough. You know, excuses, we have a wetlands problem here. I mean, if this fails, those wetlands down the bottom of Flagship will be destroyed.
So Tony, you were talking about the deadline for filing. I think at that point, we should start attaching fines.
Right,
And
so
every
at the
day,
28th
every day being a fine.
Right.
You know,
I don't know off the top of my head what our fine limit is, but
$25 a day.
No, it's
No, it's $100.
First, second, third. What's that?
$100.
A day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right.
Is that under 40, was that 40D? Non-criminal disposition?
Penalty per day for all violations that we list is $100 a day.
All right.
So I think that gives some impetus to get the notice of intent filed.
Yeah.
I mean, the cease and desist on that day if it's not filed. And then fines start to accrue every day until the notice is filed.
And I think, in my own mind, to justify, regardless of our regulations that allow for it, to look at the administrative burden, it doesn't even begin to offset the administrative burden that our staff has gone through in order to deal with this problem.
Well, I think it should be independent. It's a fine per day for non-compliance, but it should be the fine for the staff to going out there. I think that's $100, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's the re-inspection fee, it's not a fine, that's a re-inspection fee?
right. And they were only supposed to give them 2. They probably had 100. So I think it's time to stop. Enough. I think we've given them as much forgiveness that we've given anybody.
That's a big site, but they should have a design by now to be able to.
I agree.
Well, he's building it, he must have some sort of design in mind.
If I was the homeowner,
he's had the guy here before a couple times.
Development, I think I'd be a little bit
He's kind of
unhappy.
designing it on the fly. I mean, he just opened up the whole hill
I
and,
assume that is what's happening.
Yeah, either the
He's not the owner, right?
no. Well, we had a special meeting for that, and it's very convoluted.
Yeah.
But somebody's building the building. Somebody is not getting to build the building. Now, I don't know if it's because this contractor's not being paid, so he's dragging his knuckles, or the
Responsible
homeowner.
party is the applicant.
Yes and no.
And then it conveys with the owner, and their heirs and the signs, so our NOIs, well, actually, we don't have an order of conditions.
We don't have anything.
No.
So they're not issuing a violation order to our order of condition, we just order.
All we have is an
violation period.
enforcement order.
Just an open violation.
Yeah, so we don't have any chain of ownership or any conditions that state.
But we did have that meeting, you're right, and I thought he represented that he was the owner of the property.
No, we had a meeting with, I forget who was there, I know Ian was there. We had a meeting about this project, and Jeannie Enright, and they did some researching.
Yep.
And it's like 4 or 5 different,
LLCs or real
yeah.
estate.
It all starts with this one person, but he's got it, I don't know, circled around, you know how that goes. And, so there's no really clear, the applicant is not the owner.
There is no,
There is no applicant, that's why
And the owner,
it just occurred to
and
me.
the owner,
So we issued an enforcement
not-
order to the owner, right?
the owner of the land is not the person that's applied for the building.
nobody's applied, Lou.
So it is,
If the
well,
owner-
for planning.
Oh, for planning.
For the building.
Oh, for
Plan.
planning,
And
okay.
it
So,
wouldn't
yeah,
even
so anything
came
that
under
protects
us.
against the responsible party.
And they wouldn't even come under us if it wasn't for
That's
Yeah.
the way they destroyed the site.
Yep, yep.
So, but in the meantime, we're trying to help, work with, and I think this commission has worked with them, way over and above.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing things that we wouldn't approve on an NOI, and they're doing it on nothing. On
So
enforcement.
without complicating, I think we have two parts of the discussion going on here. One is moving forward and a deadline established and fines absolutely being appropriate with failure to meet the deadline. That
Yeah.
falls within the same purview of our existing enforcement order, just an extension of it. This other piece of recapturing fees for inspection, I think that's a little more complicated. It doesn't necessarily tie to this first part of it.
Oh.
I think it's a legitimate issue.
No, I agree.
But it's not part of
I think we should be able to charge fees, administration fees, on an enforcement order.
I agree. My quick look at our ordinance, I don't know that we have that ability per se, because all the notes about the inspection fee are about activities listed in that table 1-1, and an enforcement order is not listed in that table. So I think we may have to modify the table, or, again, under the enforcement order, we could issue a secondary
The
fine for
regulation of bylaw.
re-inspections.
That's regulation, the specificities of the regulation.
I'm sorry, yes,
So
that's
that can be
something we
done
could.
here, not at town meeting.
Correct. Yeah, sorry, that's the regulations under the code.
Yeah, and I don't know if we need to change the regulations. I mean, I do kind of like the way that's set up, right? That if we have to keep going out because you're not doing a good job under your order of conditions, you're gonna get charged $100. But under enforcement order, we can charge you $100 a day anyways. So,
So that's, and maybe that's our fault for not setting the enforcement orders up in the future, that every on-site visit after X shall constitute a day of fines of.
It's funny, because that's where my brain was going, Louis cornered me outside 2 meetings ago, at the last meeting, is that it's almost as though we should have the fines ticking away and tolling,
yes.
and
From the
hold them
start.
in abeyance and release them as of certain thresholds being achieved.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Another approach would be, but I do like that better, would be to say, under the enforcement order, and every time our staff has to go out there, you're gonna get charged $100.
Yeah.
So you can put that in the enforcement order itself. But I think tallying them up and abating them later on, if we so choose, is a really good option.
If we choose.
So having gone to where we have now, Tony's approach to motivate them to file an NOI and then have those fines kick in, I think that's fair at this point.
And I think we can also put in their order, if we so choose, is that every time from here on in, that our consultant has to go out there, we're going to charge you an inspection fee of $100.
Agreed.
Agreed.
All right, so how do we put that?
So do they
So I think we
request-
modify the amendment,
do they
the
request
enforcement
our
order to that
staff
extent.
To come out? Well,
No, you guys, well,
We'll word it.
it's babysitting. We're
We take care
babysitting
of
at
it.
your request.
Reasonable is always a good word to use in these kind of.
All right, so how do we change it, move forward? Let's do it now.
So,
So I move that we amend the enforcement order
okay,
to require that an NOI be filed no later than 28th December,
At noon. Even though-
and on the 29th day of December, fines will total at $1,000 per day.
$100.
$100.
What did I say?
You said 1,000.
I was getting a little
He's
aggressive,
just
huh?
seeing if we're paying
Boy,
attention.
you're hot.
Yeah, inflation's kind of rampant.
It's budget season, I think I didn't say a million. $100 a day, and it shall cease when, do we even need to say that? Don't even say that, just
Don't
simply
even
final,
say that.
period. And then the second part of that amendment is to impose an inspection fee in accordance with our regulations.
It's not in the
And,
statute with
No,
our regulations.
just
So
say-
I think you'd say,
Go ahead, you take that up from
yeah,
there.
and I would say, at any point in time where it is our administration, the conservation staff deems it necessary to appear on site, there will be a $100 fee.
But I think moving forward, Amy, on our enforcement order, also put that after the second site visit, a fee of $100
The fine.
fine
Yep.
will be instituted. Because there's no reason why you guys should have to go 2, 3, 4, 50. You know,
You know what they
I mean,
say?
Taylor should put a mailbox over there, he lives over there.
Yep, you get 90% of the stuff done in 10% of your time, and the
Yeah.
other 10% takes 90% of
That's
your time.
right,
And
that's
This is a
right.
great example of it,
That's
and it should
exactly right.
be defined
Yeah.
accordingly.
Right.
And I'm not singling out these people, there is a ton of
Yep.
projects that we've done. I mean, that I won't name because I don't wanna get in trouble, but that we've had over the
Yeah.
years. I mean, there was one project that I know that I went there 10 times.
Yeah, Right.
And our field inspector probably went 40 times, and our administrator probably went there 30 times. You know,
so Taylor and I, either one of us, at least once a day, are going to the site.
right,
It's either Taylor going or I'm going.
Yep.
And so a staff is on site at least once.
right,
a
but
day.
everything will have to be documented now, if we're gonna do this fine thing, everything's gonna have to be documented. Taylor went it
Yeah, keep a log.
today at 11
Yeah,
o'clock.
Yeah, yeah.
He was there for a half an
The
hour.
tone of the amendment, the amendment that was just offered, was that is reasonably necessary, or find it necessary? You find it necessary.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a subjective phrase, you know, so you need to fit that mold of necessity each time you go out. Is it necessary every single day?
Reasonably deem it necessary is
Right.
a
Reasonably
phrase
deem-
that you can use.
But I'm trying to pick on this applicant. It is necessary at this site.
Yep.
This site is the poster child for disaster.
Okay.
And don't, as far as the instituting of fines, use the term institute, not tolling, because tolling means to stop.
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Or to halt.
Thank-
and then, work ceases.
If they don't file.
If they don't file NOI, all work ceases, period.
Stop,
Nothing.
done.
Yeah,
Take your toys and go home.
yeah. Okay,
I would say 48 hours to completely stabilize the site and abandon all construction activity in
Okay.
the season.
I don't know if I was the building owner, I'd be very unhappy about that.
That is one, you know, just to open up another Pandora's box. So who are we serving the order of conditions, I mean, the enforcement order on?
So I believe the contractor is moving his contractor's yard.
Yeah, the contractor's responsible.
So it's his building and his property, and he's also performing the work. So in this case, I don't think it's an issue.
So he is the owner?
Yes,
Yeah.
he owns the property, he's,
Who, the applicant?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was my understanding too.
yeah, so it was someone else, but I believe it was contingent upon
Yeah, but
permits.
this
Permit.
name,
DWT
this
Holdings.
nominee name is held by like 6 different people.
Sure.
All
Yeah,
right.
No, I'm not surprised by that.
But there's one
Okay.
consistent one.
so we have a motion.
Need a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
Okay.
We did Raleigh Tavern,
No, it's
So-
continuance, right?
right? So next one is 242-1799, 243 Great Pond Road.
Okay, so Commissioner will recall ratifying the enforcement order at the last meeting. We're anticipating an interim as-built plan, which we have received, so that we know the extent of encroachment into the conservation restriction. The site has been stabilized for winter conditions. And you guys have, I sent you guys a copy of this conservation restriction. I don't,
So we haven't
I'm,
heard
I'm
any-
not-
Anything that changed my position from the last time around in that act?
Well, my question, if we heard, does the applicant talk to the state at all?
no, the applicant's here, you can come on up
How you doing?
with Steve Boyko. I know that you attempted to contact town council about her opinion.
Yes.
So, town council didn't provide a written opinion to me. It was a conversation that I imparted to you with her opinion. So there was nothing in writing, but it was our verbal discussion and her opinion that she gave me that I conveyed.
Joe?
Well, it's unfortunate, but we gave an opportunity to really review that document and see if there was a way around allowing something to stay, and I didn't see that in
Yeah.
there.
There isn't.
But it was worth looking at. I mean, I think we owed it to everybody to make sure we were doing, if we were doing something drastic, it was rightfully so. And I hate to say it, I think it is. The interim as-built plan, I thank you for doing that. It's clearly starkly different from what was approved. I know what it means, I just want to make sure the record knows, when we make reference to existing Quabbon, existing stone steps and walkway, and existing fieldstone walkway, that's existing due to the construction, not
Yes.
previously
Right.
existing.
Oh, no, this is all new stuff.
Not previously existing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a distinction between
Newly-
existing used elsewhere on the
Newly
same plan.
constructed.
So, what I think we're saying is that for the winter, stabilize, do no more, go away, but in the spring, with a deadline, to have it all be made in compliance with the approved plan. And, in those timetables, I think are pretty strict. What are we thinking, the end of June, right?
I think so.
And that's all I have.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple, and to parrot a lot of what you said, Joe, stabilize for winter, and then in the spring, start work to bring it into compliance with the approved plan, which did limit work, or actually limit disturbance to inside of the conservation restriction easement. What's there now, according to the interim as-built plan, has encroached into that conservation restriction easement, and that needs to be removed. So that's how I'm looking at this.
For starters, the existing walkway and steps, that should be removed immediately. I don't care, if winter, summer, that could be done. The other thing is, and some of these guys have been around a long time in construction. My feeling is why can't they sleeve the bulk, the water, pump it off, build a wall according to plan. So they're not disturbing the pond, they're not disturbing the fish, and the project can still be done. Instead of waiting until June.
Doing it now?
Do it now.
I'm concerned with stabilization for the rest of the winter, and if it's stabilized, that's where my perspective is. Not so much to grant forgiveness, but recognizing it's stable now and to destabilize it going into the winter months,
Well,
probably not prudent.
We've all been around water work at one time. It can be
That's,
done.
yeah, my perspective on it. That's where I was coming
I
from.
mean, this is an open violation, not to the homeowner. I agree, it's not his fault. He should be going after the contractor big time. And that's the only way, he's gonna have to do that in June anyways. He's not gonna pump the koi pond and kill the fish. He's gonna have to put sleeves or bulkhead or whatever, temporary. Put it in, restore all that, build your wall, and then take the sleeves out. And that could be done in the wintertime. And I don't think this thing is that big. We're not talking about Stevie's Pond or Lake of Chitwood. The koi pond is big, but it's not that
17,000
big.
gallons, right?
It's 11,000, yeah.
11,000, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little big, that's a little bigger than the pool.
So you half the size of a pool.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it can be done. But if the commission feels that we should wait till June, that's fine, but I think it can be done. And I think if the state knew about it, they wouldn't be very happy. But definitely a walk in the shaded in yellow, the existing fieldstone walkway and existing steps. Yeah, they're existing because you put them in illegally. So,
Right.
so they should be removed. And like I said, if I was you and this was my house, I'd be getting my lawyer onto the contract because it's not you. I know it's not you. And it's unfortunate that you're in this situation, but we're regulated by the state to say you will not do this. So, do it now, do it later, but you still got to stabilize. The last picture I saw, there was boulders everywhere, and the site was not. I don't consider it was stable at the time. So, I think it's unfortunate, but that's my opinion. John?
Yep, I certainly think shouldn't be there. I don't have any questions. I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other on the timing of it and when, construction-wise is a good time or not a good time. So I'm going to follow you folks' lead on that.
I don't feel strongly one way or the other on timing. I would say that, if we give the date of June, if the contractor wants to undertake it now, just require a construction phasing or a construction schedule to be submitted to Amy so she knows when it's going to commence, whether it's in the spring or immediately. And then the only other thing was, we talk about removing the elements, but I think we should also talk about restoring to the existing condition, or the pre-development condition. Those are the only two kind of items that I had.
Yeah, and I think that's important, Tony, because, what he's got out there is already encroached into the conservation restriction easement. So what has he got to have it look like at the end? Well, it has to look like what was proposed in the original approved drawing, but I think it means also that you can't change the grade within the easement area.
Right.
That it needs to be retained at its current, at its previous
Approved, yeah.
natural condition, which is the main emphasis of the conservation restriction. And so I think it's probably prudent for us to be clear that in the end, any grading deviation from the prior construction condition needs to be resolved, needs to be removed. It needs to be back to where it was before you put a shovel in the ground. Now, but they may want to, or they may need to have construction vehicles encroach into that area and create a temporary disturbance, and that's probably a discussion that we need to have to give him direction on what he can do and what he can't do.
They had that. They had a construction access in the conservation restriction that was allowed.
Right.
Just,
To
Just
build-
want- just
to
wanted
build
to
this
be-
Just to
project.
accomplish the.
just wanting to be clear. 'cause-
Fortunately, he made it bigger. So he still has an open order to access the conservation restriction.
Okay, but then it must be restored to the
Exactly.
previous
Right.
Exactly.
undisturbed condition. Yeah.
But my question, there's another question here. Have you spoken to the contractor?
A little bit.
I mean, is he willing to go back and fix this? That's another issue. I mean, we're gonna give you 6 months, and you might not even have a contractor.
Yeah, I mean, we're still in communication, so I assume he will. I haven't asked him, I wanted to understand what you were going to be asking of me. By the way, I should let you know that I am being represented by Frank DeLuna at Smolak and Vaughn. He had a close COVID encounter, so he thought it was prudent to not show up tonight. So I'm sure he's gonna have some perspectives on this at the next meeting.
But that legal, I can't, tell legal counsel, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Is your contractor capable of, just because you're capable of building something doesn't mean you're always capable of undoing it and managing the water?
Sure. So there was, I think part of the plan that was submitted did not, I don't think, take into good account the elevations. And so, you now have the water that is projected out, however far it's projected out, within the conservation restriction. And so to retain that and restore, there's going to have to be a significant retaining wall of significant height and significant depth. So that will have to be engineered, I think, so that everybody understands exactly what they're building. But yeah, he's a full-scale contractor, builds houses, and I suspect he's able to accomplish this.
I mean, this is gonna be a costly remodeling. I mean, I'm just worried that the contractor might walk. And giving him 6 months, not knowing that we even have contracted to do this.
I don't think that climate changes whether you tell them to do it in 1 month or you tell them to do it in 6 months. My whole premise on it all, that aside, because I don't think that went into my decision at all, was it has to be done. Let's be reasonable in getting it done and getting done right. And let's do it under the climatic conditions that are most prudent to have it not go wrong. Frozen ground, winter conditions, slop because you got snow. When you're dealing with holding water back and doing things, winter conditions is a tough period, but on a project like this, it's even
Right.
more complicated. And I'm thinking that getting us through the spring and into the very beginning of summer was where I thought was a reasonable approach to go that far out. Not so much of a contractor being prepared to jump on it.
I would think the frozen conditions would be better as far as access. I think spring would be a disaster to go around.
didn't like what you said.
The original, or the approved plan proposes a low fieldstone wall surrounding the koi pond. So, it doesn't sound like it's much of a retaining wall that was proposed.
That was proposed, yeah, I don't think that
I think
works.
I think low fieldstone wall means it doesn't need to be designed
Well,
by the,
I
building.
think evidently this guy built it the way he wanted to. And I think the grades that are there now are not the grades that could,
clearly not.
Well, in fairness.
Well, he's talking
grade-
about a
the grade-
wall.
Water has its own grade, right? So in fairness, whoever put the engineering plans together should have adjusted the grades.
so
To
now
the
we're
water?
gonna throw the engineer under the bus.
I mean, everyone's going under the bus, I think, on this project.
And I'm not blaming, like I said, I'm not blaming you. Unfortunately, our hands are tied with the conservation restriction. And I know we conversed with the town attorney before we approved this. because I had an issue with
Yeah,
access.
Yep.
And she told us I do have it in writing somewhere, that they can't use the conservation restriction for access, but they can't change anything.
They can use it for access?
They
or
can, yeah.
Can.
Can.
So that was access to work.
Yep.
But now within, not the koi pond and related construction is in
Yeah.
conservation
I
restriction.
used to have a house that abutted a conservation
So-
restriction here in town. I'm pretty familiar with the restrictions.
So,
So I moved.
so we need a construction sequence for this. Do we need revised plans if,
Yes,
if,
and elevations.
with elevations and cross-sections, or no? I mean, I,
Depends on-
If the approved plan is buildable,
okay,
so build it according.
Build
to
it
the-
according
with
to
the
plan.
The approved plan.
okay, yep.
And if there's a problem with the grade and resulting in a higher retaining wall, that's a separate issue they have to talk about. Maybe the koi pond up on the uphill side is simply too high. Maybe it should have been lowered to prevent
Yeah.
that higher retaining wall.
Yeah,
So we don't know any of that yet, but
Yeah,
the approved plan is what we're expecting.
Yes.
That's why we approved it.
that's right.
Now, anything beyond that is gonna be, separate procedure for
Yeah, and
asking
they-
for
For
modification.
asking for a modification,
Right,
right.
so what you want to do is you want to continue it till June. Continue enforcement until June. However, they have to temporarily stabilize the site as it is now.
We have.
Which they have. They're-
Construction sequence, a
Cons-
minimum of a week before performing any work?
Plenty of time, I'd say, let's
Give
two
a date
weeks.
certain.
Yeah, yeah.
2 weeks.
2 weeks before, when you got any restart of construction.
Why don't we just say
What does that mean?
February 1st? That's gonna be before.
Sequence, yeah, they'll know what it is by
Yeah,
then.
they'll know what it is.
Yeah.
Let's give
Fair-
a date
fair
certain,
enough.
better off doing a date certain, I think.
Thank you.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we do it April? Because I won't be here. February, March.
Both months.
It's up to you. I mean, I'm more quorum
Yeah, I know.
issues. Because Al's not here.
Nobody's gonna stop before
You
April.
obviously don't trust us.
No, I'm saying,
Damn right he doesn't.
because you know how I feel about this. I like I said, and not on the applicant. I mean, the contract, I would definitely, instead of using a lawyer from over here, I would use your lawyer to go after this contractor.
No more comments like that.
Oh, okay, I'm
Especially
not
when someone's
supposed to
representing-
say this, I'm sorry.
Those are the statements of an individual,
Yeah,
and not this
I get
commission.
in trouble again. I always get in trouble. Okay,
So, construction sequence by when?
yeah, it's fine, do it whatever you want.
April 5th.
April, 1st of April?
Or 2 weeks prior to
I'll
starting.
scan it and email it to you, Louis. You can go over it.
No, because I'll have to put down my beer.
If we have a dry March and they wanna get started in March,
Yeah, don't do it because of me.
yeah.
Okay.
Do
So
it
let's go with
the
Jack's
way
date.
after.
2
Yeah.
weeks, so 2 weeks before,
Let's go with a date.
Date certain,
Yeah, but-
Jack's
oh,
approach is good.
date certain,
And he
okay,
said-
so that's,
Do it February meeting.
February 1st.
okay.
I mean, you know.
Yep.
We've got the holidays,
We
but
can do this.
All right,
can
so we need a
plan that in.
construction sequence by
Just don't
February
do it on
1st.
Flag Day.
that's in July.
Restore all areas within the conservation restriction to pre-existing conditions
Predi-
and build
yeah.
the project to the approved plan.
Yes.
Pre-existing, we talking about just the conservation easement area, the disturbed areas? I would say that it should be that to construct the plans in accordance with the approved
Approved,
NOI.
Yep,
And comply with that NOI, and
Yep.
any disturbed areas that were not approved for disturbance, that they be restored to
it,
the original
okay.
condition.
Yes.
all right, yep,
Yes.
yes, yep.
Perfect.
And on the amended plan, I would definitely put elevations, because the applicant has already stated that that the engineer didn't allow for elevations on water, so evidently the koi pond is higher than what it's supposed to be.
He's got them every foot, it looks like, about every foot.
Yeah, but if you look, the 156 contour is right up against the house here,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a existing deck that was open underneath, so the grade probably continues up under the deck. So when they filled up with water, that 156.8 was lower than your existing grade where you wanted to come back to. So like you said, they either had to go down or
Yeah.
the wall had to come up.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. Looks like it's 2 feet, according to the approved plan. 2 feet to the edge of the koi pond compared to the 156. It's 154 at the edge of the koi pond. And if the house is 156, that's 2 feet. That's a short fieldstone wall.
Yep.
Amy, do you have the entire filing for what was approved with you tonight?
Yep.
So the note on the approved site plan, which is what we've been talking about, which is the comparison between approved versus existing, that's done by civil design. There's a note 4 that's, I'm not looking for that, that's exactly, I'm looking for a plan entitled Landscape Plan, Ulrich Landscape Collaborative. Because they tie all the elevations to a landscape plan. And if that's not part of our file, that's the problem.
That
I guess
is,
one question that I've got is if we remediate this so that we're not infringing and we restore, what does it matter what the height of the wall is? Because what I don't want to do is have to re-engineer the entire project. So if we restore the area to the original elevations and we keep the wall within the area that we're allowed to build, at the end of the day, I would assume that's not an issue.
Right, so what your contractor or whoever's handling this would do would file, before you do that,
Yeah.
or at this point, if it's already built afterwards, they'd file a modification with us, and we would review it and see if it's acceptable and something that we would approve, just as if it was originally filed with us. If it's something we would approve, then we would likely accept the modification.
I think the issue is if it got over 4 feet, we'd need to get a building permit for it. And it would have to be engineered and signed off by an engineer.
How to go 2 to 4?
What?
How to go 2 to 4?
Since we
Well,
approved
that's,
this plan,
but that's the
basically
issue,
say
that's
there's a
the
reasonable
major issue of concern is, you know,
Unless
once
they-
it gets to that height.
If they
you
haven't
wanna know
agreed,
what's
then
gonna-
they agree.
I mean, if those lines,
And then-
those
and the
contour lines
sloping-
aren't accurate,
The sloping of that
so
side
it goes down to 20.
into the conservation restriction would be a problem.
Yeah, but he's saying if you get that back to its original height.
Yeah, but if
That's the problem.
your
I
original
should have
plan
the
was
problem,
2 feet,
that's the potential. So we need that.
and now you
as part of
increase it
this
to 4 feet,
enforcement, we
the
need the
slope
Albert plan.
just doubled. So now the
Note
slope,
4 on
instead
that
of being
plan.
Okay.
outside the conservation restriction, will be inside the conservation restriction.
Right, but so they'll have to figure out a way to do that without going inside the conservation restriction.
Well, and they already have,
Yes, they have.
with all the design behind this approved plan. If there's something wrong about that, then it's gotta be resolved and it might be a modification.
Yeah, because right now the koi pond is in the conservation restriction,
Absolutely.
not to mention the slope from the wall.
Yeah.
So now you're even further into the conservation restriction.
So we should ask for that landscape plan in short order?
Yeah.
Yes,
Since the elevations, are not part of the order, the enforcement order, but just for our discussion, since our order of conditions is issued on the plan, the civil design plan, that note refers to all elevations being shown on the Ulrich plan. We need to verify that the Ulrich plan and the site plan
Jive?
elevations are in agreement.
Are
If
in
they're
agreement.
not,
right.
that becomes part of the discussion for modification.
And I would say it's going to be. I think the elevations are going to be wrong.
I'm not going to agree.
They're not going to be compliant to the original order conditions.
Of course not. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And that puts the slope farther into the conservation restriction.
Or he proposes to keep the elevation where it is and simply build, engineer and design and build properly a retaining
So
wall
that-
that is in compliance.
That is compliant.
Through
That'll be a
modification.
major modification.
Okay.
Okay,
Was there anything more that we needed on this? We've got deadlines, we've got timing, sequences.
February 1st.
Was that all in a motion? I think it was, right? I think I seconded it.
What do you got?
Could I
Review us.
request that February 1st be pushed to March 1st, just to give time, if we're gonna be engineering things and redoing landscape plans and all of that? I just don't see them jumping that fast.
Sure.
Understood.
Okay, March 1st it is.
Thank you.
But you're saying the site is all stable, right, Amy?
Yep.
Okay.
I also did have a request to continue construction that is not inside the conservation restriction, so there's other parts of this project. I'd like to get my contractor on site and have, whatever can be done, done.
This is the
So part of the order that we just did was that you construct the site in accordance with the approved plans. And if there are things that you're going to construct that are approved, without further disturbance,
That's fine.
First of all, I'll say to the applicant, thank you for bringing that up instead of just doing it.
Yes.
Well,
So thank you for that. Nobody said cease and desist here, so.
Well, you can do what you want, but if it's wrong,
well, if it has to be undone because of something else, that, they're
exactly.
doing it at their own peril.
So,
Sorry.
as long as it's done by the approved plan,
In accordance with.
according to the approved plan. But just, if you do things that affect the, change to the koi pond, that you do that at your peril.
I understand.
Yep, yep. So if you're going to do, and you probably, which may hamstring you, because you're gonna wanna modify things, and before you modify them, you gotta come in front of us.
Yeah, I'm not actually that concerned about the other work because, it's really only on that edge of the pond and the stairs and the block from the project standpoint,
Yep.
it's actually a minor part from my perspective of the project. The retaining wall, or however we deal with that, is separate from what's happening on the deck,
Okay.
So
at least from my perspective.
like I said, you do, anything you do on this project will be at your peril until we figure out after.
So that was a motion, was it seconded? Did you already?
It wasn't formally a motion, I just said that, but
Want to restate it?
Well,
we don't wanna restate it.
No.
Do you know, you got
Issue
everything we
an
want,
amended
right?
enforcement order as discussed.
As- So
Okay.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. One other thing, actually, I'm sorry. We did propose to move the fence to right inside the 50-foot line to go around the project. And I'd like to do that, if at all possible, before the winter, because we do have a dog, and our dog has been having to go out on leash the whole time. So I would like to put a fence around the area. It's on the plan as proposed.
Is it, the fence is in the conservation restriction, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Relocate
Is that
existing
allowable?
fence. He's proposing to relocate it
Into the conservation restriction.
out of.
Yeah.
Out of,
No,
No,
on the
it's-
outside of it?
It's in. It's in. It had been in, it was in the existing plan.
I don't know how you do that.
Existing metal fence, okay, that's what it is, that's existing. Now, he's saying relocate existing fence. And it's actually within, right now,
That's what's
it's,
being pro-
right now, it's within the
So
easement.
you can't do it. You can't block
You can't block conservation restriction.
you can't block it.
well, we did approve a portion of it,
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have.
but what we approved and what's shown as proposed relocation is different.
If it's in, you can't approve it.
No, it can't. But it looks like it's not been relocated. He says he's gonna relocate it. It doesn't show where it goes.
It does, though.
Where does it?
There it is, it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
This
Oh, it's way up.
Yes.
Relocated fence.
what was the whole problem.
Right.
All
I
the way
don't
to the
think we
50
can,
foot.
we can't approve, I don't think we can approve that.
We can't.
Shouldn't approve this. The fence goes a little bit into the conservation restriction now.
That, this is a violation plan.
So you want to do the perimeter?
This is a
Not the
violation
full
plan.
perimeter, it's just the area around the deck.
All right, so the confusion I have is on the approved
Oh, that's
plan,
an old-
that's what you show, is kind of around the deck
Yeah.
and maybe I don't have a scale on this, but,
Looks like it goes like this.
you know, twice the distance that it is from the koi pond out. On this as-built plan,
You can't have.
they show a relocate existing fence that goes all the way up to the 50-foot new build that's about twice as big as the.
Yeah, I asked Civil Design where we could put a fence because we wanted to move the fence out a little bit, just because once the project was built, the fence is actually tight in the
Oh.
area. And so we asked Civil Design to
Why
propose
would
a
you be
new
doing
fence location, and this is what they came up with.
Who's Civil Design, your contractor?
The engineer?
The engineer.
Well, that's, so,
You can't put it where.
Or, sorry, the survey.
Yeah, what they do survey engineering.
Yeah, survey
Yeah,
engineer.
oh, that's completely different than what's on the approved plan.
Yeah, you can't, back to the same thing. You can't do anything on a conservation restriction. If you put the fence there, you're restricting conservation restrictions. So,
So we let him put it in the same place.
The answer is no.
that means- The
Relatively,
answer is
relatively
no.
the same place.
But, you know, but this is, you know,
So,
I think what we approved is.
But I can do it where you approved it?
No, it's, I don't know that. I don't think we even saw that, the fence.
Well, I mean, he had an existing fence, and it's not any further back than what was existing. He just kind of modified it so it went around the pond.
Yeah, but now the pond is where it's not supposed to be.
Yeah, but that doesn't affect this.
Right, but on our approval, I think because it was an existing fence, that's why we.
All right.
Well, I don't think we
So how do we
approved
put
it.
the fence back up?
He was gonna relocate the existing fence,
In the,
and the whole project was to get it within the conservation restriction easement. And he was gonna relocate it. Maybe the applicant wasn't clear that he was gonna do that, clear enough, but that was the intent of this whole project.
well, I have in the work description, converting a portion of the existing deck to a patio, relocating a fence.
Yeah,
Say where?
Well, as per the approved plan.
It's not approved there.
but it,
I mean,
but,
Then it's in the
I didn't hide it.
conservation
I mean, I drafted it,
No.
you guys reviewed it, so.
but it's in the same location as existing conditions. And he points it out that he's relocate existing fence. He has a note, relocate existing fence. But as shown on the proposed conditions, it's in the same, it's in a
Generally the same.
non-relocated position. It's in the same position as it is on existing conditions.
for the, on 2 out of the 3 sides. If you look at the north side,
It bumps out.
it swings out just a little bit to get around the pond, so it wouldn't go through the pond, but, I mean, the west and the southerly side are generally the same as what was existing.
Right, the old one went to the back corner of the deck, and the new one is proposed to go up to the existing dwelling. Guess that's how I see it.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
so it just flares
So
out
that's
just
your
a hair,
relocation.
just to,
It was a
yeah, I mean, we're
irrelevant
talking,
relocation based
you know,
upon the
5 feet or
conservation
something like
restriction.
that,
Yep.
compared to the existing fence. The other one is, this is,
Yeah, that's a problem.
So my feeling is
30.
that, my feeling is that it certainly can't expand beyond what was in the approved plan.
No.
And that fence,
The fence right now goes through
Goes into the conservation restriction.
and goes into the
which you
pond.
can't do.
And it did beforehand, so it was an existing violation. We probably should have, when did the conservation restriction come into play, come into existence on this property? Long ago?
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 years left on it.
Left on it, expires.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. I thought they were mostly perpetual.
September 2012? Let me see. 1995, I'm sorry, September of 1995.
So it will expire in 2025.
So how long is it?
30 years?
And-
Most of them?
How long is it good for?
Yes, so
Hold on, look at,
perpetuity is 30 years in the specified line.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
So our main restrictions.
30 years.
That's good.
From 95.
So 40B says that you want to restrict the units.
So we're just about in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's on 30 years.
It's only 30 years when they come off the roll.
Really?
Yes, so unless you.
30
say-
years, I won't be
No,
here.
you got to specify.
Well, it's
you know,
Not just
good
good
till,
to and forever.
sounds like it might be good till 2025.
30 years.
So the fence was there before,
As far as we know.
oh, it was showing the existing.
Okay.
Well, conservation speaks for itself. There really ain't anything we can do to act on. Can't let them allow to put a fence in it. That,
Well, he asked the question, could he relocate it to what, the as-built,
No.
the interim as-built plan? And I think the answer to that is no. It gives, it's much greater encroachment into the conservation restriction easement. And honestly, I think we have to go back to town council and say, you know, okay, if the approved plan missed a feature,
Well, one question is,
You
do we
know-
know when that fence was built? Was it built before the conservation restriction was put in place? And has
Might
it
be
just,
grandfather.
might be grandfathered in?
I have to say, I find this whole conversation incredibly frustrating, because,
I think we feel.
Yeah.
We're trying to help you.
yeah, but I don't feel like you are trying to help me, because the problem appears to be compounding, right? I mean, so I hired the folks that you guys asked me to hire to monitor the project. They came out every single week from whenever it was. May, I'm paying them $150 a week. They're sending in these reports saying that I'm in compliance, and, you know, now we've got all of these things that appear to be snowballing. I mean, this is turning into this.
The third-party review was there for the stormwater. I don't think it was there for structural design.
Erosion.
Huh?
Yeah, it was erosion control.
Erosion control.
Well, they were saying that if they were certifying that it was in compliance with all of the conditions.
No,
Well, that's what the report says.
as far as the stormwater and the
Erosion
erosion
control.
control,
It's environmental monitor.
environmental
Yeah,
monitor.
it's environmental
not
monitoring,
structural.
not structural.
If you haven't had a breach, no erosion, finding its water resource area.
Exactly, that's what he's there for. As far as the structure not being put in the right place, that's all, I hate to say it's on you, but it's the guys you hired, but it all falls back on you.
See, oftentimes, we don't find out what the real situation is until they come in to get us, you know, when the project's all done, they come get a certificate of compliance, and the whole thing is a crap show. And now you're like, well, guess what? You gotta rip the whole thing up and do it all over again. It's just, I don't know how this one came up at this
Yeah, I-
point, but. My
It's
premise-
getting late, and I want to comment beyond this, from my perspective, is that we're not talking about a little bit off. We're talking way off. And, you know, if, to the homeowner's eye, to the contractor's eye, who are both knowledge of what he wants as a client and what the contractor is expected to build in compliance with a plan, it's not even close. Someone building it made a decision to keep going that way, contrary to the plan. So as far as, you know, who should have reported, or there's nobody more responsible than the responsible party who knew what they were getting. And you know, that's not our problem.
If this was, we'll eliminate the conservation restriction. If you were an applicant and you built your koi pond into a 25-foot no disturb, right? We wouldn't be having this discussion. Get your contractor out and move it. All right? We're trying to be as flexible as we can, and some of us are almost redesigning the plan to try and mediate this situation. But our hands are tied. The conservation restriction is by the state. We can't overrule the state. So we're trying to do it, trying to help to figure out how to do this and a way to do this. And it's unfortunate. And
Yeah.
the fence we slipped up on, But doesn't matter, it's all under jurisdiction of the state.
We just
So
passed
I
a
think-
philosophy here,
so-
or have we already concluded with business with this part of the hearing? And we've done everything we need to on this,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
enforcement
so
order in place.
the fence question
except the fence question.
is, you can't install it the way it is on the interim as-built,
Correct.
but they could install it as per the approved plan.
Correct. So back to where we were a half hour ago. The
Right.
enforcement order was to build it in
Right.
accordance with the approved
So
plan.
that's,
Yeah,
there was a long
Well, she said
discussion
it's
to get
issued
to
in
that
interim as-built.
answer.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so they're showing it
Okay,
as a proposed
my question will be, when it's all said and done, and we do the as-built, and it's in the conservation restriction, we can't approve it,
Why?
because we're going, we're overruling the state, then why don't we just let them leave the koi pond where it is? We're
No, no,
allowing-
no,
Always have
no.
it two different-
No,
Huh?
yeah, that's,
That's not what we're saying here, I don't think at
No,
all.
no, we're
No.
not, well, you're allowing a fence to be built in a conservation restriction.
I think we need
That's a violation.
But it was
The fence
already there.
pre-existed.
It
For all we know,
pre-existed.
Could have been grandfathered in.
We don't know that. Well,
We didn't, but that's
We
something
didn't,
that
but
we
that's-
probably should have looked at the time.
Well,
So
some
the
of the
time
approved
of the
plan, I think
90s.
it's, even at best, it's unfair to
Yeah.
renege on the approved plan.
Right.
Right.
At best, so
right.
I don't intend to do that.
No.
But
We should probably get advice from town council.
Yeah.
I would,
we still get advice on what that means in the longer run, but
Yes.
as far as this enforcement action,
Even with
I
this.
don't wanna, I don't
All right,
wanna
so we-
go around the approved plan. The problem is, I don't wanna get involved with the
You're
state with
absolutely right.
the country.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
The
Get an
restriction.
opinion from town council on the situation concerning that.
I mean, I don't care when it was built, if they put a conservation restriction, the state says, this is what we want.
Yep.
They don't care who built it, how it was built, or when it was built. I mean, they can take a house down, don't matter.
So with that
Okay.
in mind, what guidance do we want to give the applicant to hold off on the fence until town council comes back?
I would not advise him to put it in the location as shown on the as-built
Yeah,
plan.
we've clearly done that.
prohibiting that.
To be truthful, at this point, but this is such a mess, I would just say, if you wanna do it, but you're doing it at your own peril, because once we get a legal
I wouldn't advise him to do it on the fence.
let him do what he wants.
No,
No, disturb the
No.
conservation restriction easement?
No,
install it,
we can't advise him
install
to
it
do
per
that.
the
No, we're
approved
not.
plan,
I'm just-
period.
Like all the
Just
other
wait,
stuff that
can we just
he's doing,
end this discussion?
and he's like, he wants to fix this, he wants to do that, I don't know what he wants to do. He wants to do it.
I don't think we should get into detail specifics of the fence, other than what we've already said, is to
Right.
build the project in
According
accordance
to
with the approved plan.
Approved plan.
If he chooses to build the part of the project that includes the fence, like his other parts that are on the plan that he wants to build, he's doing that full knowledge that as this thing parcels out,
Right.
it's gonna be determined what the outcome of that might be.
Right.
But right now, anything beyond what's approved in that plan, I would say, you're not gonna get, and even what's on the approved plan, it might be somewhat at risk.
Right,
But just build the plan.
right. I agree.
Okay.
But I'm saying,
So-
he put the fence, even though it's on the approved plan, it still might be at his own peril. Might.
That's a discussion for another day,
Another day.
until we know what comes back on that.
I'm just trying
All right.
to, I'm trying to, believe it or not, I am trying to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're
I hate
going
to
too
see
And
far.
I'm a dog
We're
owner as
going too
well, so
far
I know your
afield.
fence
I hate,
situation
I
very
hate to
well.
see you
so
spend money.
whether it's a temporary fence or something that you use in the interim until this is all figured out is something that's totally within your discretion, because you're a dog owner. But as far as, whether or not we are gonna seek town council on the order of conditions that we gave on the location of the fence, and we'll await his or her decision on where we go from there.
All right, so we need a motion. for
No,
the-
we're
No,
all
done.
set, we're done.
That was all debate.
All right, sorry.
Thanks, sorry.
You know, this commission is here to help people, and sometimes it's difficult.
We're here to protect and to serve.
Protect, that's it.
But no wetlands,
All right.
not the people.
All right, so we're all good with that. So next one is a decision,
Yeah,
242-1831. And this project.
104 Milk Street. What are you looking at, Joe?
I've got two drafts. What I've one was recent and one is probably an older one you had last meeting? That's the older one, right?
That's the drafty one.
Somehow I got my files mixed together.
Condition 44 talks about dewatering BMPs. Might that be a difference? 44 and 45?
Yes, this is the old one in my hand here.
And that did come after.
Yeah.
44 is dewatering there?
Yeah.
Dewatering BMP shall be installed per the approved plan and
Bingo, this is the old one.
And
Thank you.
44 and 45. I have an issue with the bonding.
Okay.
What's your issue?
Not enough. This foundation is being built 50 feet, 8 inches from the,
Yeah, 1994.
So a house historically has been 3,000.
Okay.
This is all of that.
it's all of that. It said the foundation is critical.
It
We're
is.
gonna have some serious dewatering. I mean,
Yeah.
Mill Street, 4 inches, 4-foot
Yeah,
frost
this
wall.
is 3,000.
3,000?
4 inches are gonna hit water.
I questioned it myself, so.
Yeah.
3,000?
No, I think it should be more.
More than 3?
I mean, it is a sizable project.
Yeah, it's a big, very, very,
You
it's
know,
like
the-
a
the
house. It's
addition-
like building a
the addition
house.
is-
Yeah, it's the same size as the house.
I know,
I
right?
think it's bigger than the house.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like 38.5 or something like that against 26 points. The carpenter's gonna hemorrhage.
I know.
Glad I'm not paying for the lumber.
So, 3,500?
What do you think?
4,000? Do I hear 4,000?
3750, what do you think?
Going once, going I know it's a house, and I hate this to be,
Well, we have talked about, you know, the $3,000 for a house being sort of antiquated at this point. Because you've carried that bond amount for a very long time. So I think in general,
So making it a little less arbitrary, what we have is a house. We have a house that is perched water table, a notorious area for perched water table. Dewatering is a major factor and a
Yep.
major BMP that has to be employed and could go wrong. It is close to the wetland.
yep,
So all those things heighten it beyond a typical house
yep,
in a pretty big way.
yeah.
So what does that do to the,
no,
what does that do to the bond?
That high.
Is that that's a $4,000 bond?
Yeah, at least.
How many?
4,000?
1,000 once, twice?
Sold.
Sold the dream.
And I think at some point we should have a minimum bond on projects. Instead of like these 1,500s.
back.
I mean,
Um,
in today's market, $1,000, $2,000 in the construction field does not go very far.
Any field.
In any field, exactly. So I think at some point we should set a minimum. We could talk about it some other time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But,
So for the erosion control, I'd like to add backed by silt fence, entrenched silt fence, the 12-inch melt soft.
Yep.
I'm wondering if we should require additional hay bales for the dewatering area to be on site as emergency.
I agree,
Yeah, I like that.
All right.
because they're gonna be dewatering constantly.
Is that gravel in the bottom of the dewatering bed, is that a standard thing?
Yeah, that's typical.
That's
Is it?
typical.
Okay, well, it makes it easier to clean up or something?
No, it makes it harder to clean up.
It does make it harder.
Harder,
But it
that's
filters a
good
little
thing.
bit.
Yes, that's.
but it filtered.
Filters it, all right, okay.
Do we require a bag in the watering area?
We can.
It's, how are the soils out there? Are they the
So it's terrible up there. The whole
No,
village.
but are they the ones with the tons of fines, like the
Paxtons.
Hanleys and the Paxtons? and
Yep.
All right, so maybe a bag
Better?
is worthwhile. That
Like a
way-
dirt bag?
Yeah, dirt bag on top of the stone.
No, it's a
I
trade
know a
name.
couple, I know a couple we can use.
It's a trade name.
It's an industry term, yes.
It's an industry term.
It's an industry term. I'm trying to think of words that don't end.
Okay.
You remember that line?
Dead balls accurate.
Is that from my cousin Vinny?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an industry term.
It's an
I
industry.
didn't know that one. I love that movie.
I found out that's my boss's Thanksgiving tradition, is him and his family watch my cousin Vinny. I'm like, that's not a bad idea.
That is good.
Anything else?
No, that was the.
Motion?
Move that we approve the order of conditions for 242-1831 as drafted and amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.